Thank you, Catherine, and good evening, everybody. For those of you who've got a glass in front of them, cheers. I'm delighted to welcome Basaline Despagne. Many of you will know Basaline. She comes to a lot of our tastings. This is the first virtual tasting we've done with Basaline, but we often invite her to join us for our regional and London tastings, and she always says yes. So good evening, Basaline.
Good evening, Tim. Thank you for your invitation.
So, Basaline, you are in the kitchen at Château Bel-Air Perponcher, correct?
Exactly.
Which
yeah,
is very appropriate because your favourite room, because you're such a brilliant cook.
Thank you. Yes, the weather is not so perfect today to show you the site of Bel-Air Perponcher. So I've decided to show you another warm side of where we live, and we are in my kitchen.
Okay, so just to fill members in and guests in about Château Bel-Air Perponcher and the Despagne family, we've been working with the Despagnes since 1990. So actually that's 30 years, which is pretty much unbroken trading with the family. And it was your father, wasn't it, really, that was the main contact when we started, Jean-Louis?
Exactly. We are family. We're a family business, very much attached to the Entre-Deux-Mers. My father was really the first one to devote himself to the wine business, and he was the one who had such a good relationship first with Sebastian Payne, and then when I took over the UK market, I was happy to be in contact with him, and then Joe Locke, and then now you, Tim.
So now, I think I'm right in saying that your father handed over the reins to you and your brother Thibault when you were very young, well, relatively young. Was it 98, Basaline, that you took over?
Not exactly. It was in 2003.
Okay.
So 2003 was the 60th birthday of my father.
Okay.
And he knew Thibault and myself were willing to take over the business, and he had experimenting the death of his father very young, as he was at 26 or 27 years old, more or less, 26, I think. And he liked the freedom he had, and he was really willing to give us this same freedom. So to leave the business as soon as possible. So I was 25 and Thibault was 30 years old. Yes.
So, it's probably worth explaining, Basaline. You have more than one chateau, don't you? I mean, we're talking tonight principally about Bel-Air Perponcher, which is where you live, and the wines lined up in front of me and with you are the three wines that we take regularly. And I should say that there are very few wines in our Bordeaux section that we buy systematically year in, year out, but these three wines are standard wines on the list. They're pretty much always there, and that's thanks to the consistency of quality. But maybe talk a little bit about Bel-Air Perponcher, and also perhaps Montpellier and Girolat, which are also quite interesting for everybody to learn about.
So all the family estates are very much located, all located in the Entre-Deux-Mers. We're very much attached to the Entre-Deux-Mers. I'm not sure all the members know the reason of the name of Entre-Deux-Mers. Entre-Deux-Mers should be called not between, a lot of people say, oh, it's between the two rivers, but it should definitely be called between the two seas or the two oceans, because there's definitely an influence of this ocean all along to Cadillac on the Garonne River and Libourne on the Dordogne River. And the influence, one of the influence that you can note is the mascaré. So it's a wave that comes on the river, which is a wave that you can share like a bottle of wine. Everyone is on the same wave, sharing that wave. And the not only the wave, but there's definitely an influence in terms of climate and terroir, and influence on our wine because of that of the ocean.
I think we have a picture of the mascaré coming up, but for those who don't speak French, mascaré is a tidal bore, which is basically a wave that runs counter to the flow of the river. I know that there are certain rivers in the UK that you get a tidal bore, but I don't think you surf, do you, Basaline? But I know Thibaut does, and he participates in
but both of my brothers are very keen on surfing the mascaré. It's a unique it's a unique atmosphere because, as I said, you surf all the same waves, you go for the same wave, so it's quite unique. So this makes our attachment to the Entre-Deux-Mers, and this is the reason why we've always put all our energy in the Entre-Deux-Mers, because we truly trusted that we have a beautiful terroir here, and to make very typical and wines with a lot of typicity. So Bel-Air Perponcher is located in the heart of the Entre-Deux-Mers, close to the Dordogne. Montpellier is an amazing estate of in one block in the Côte de Bordeaux. So it's very hilly, very, very hilly, and it's facing the Garonne. And Girolat is in the same village. So this is the vineyards from Girolat, with plants that you see on the picture, planted with a very very high density. So Girolat for us is our aim. This is why we're making wine, and this is why we're getting up every morning, because it's such an amazing project, and with energy and feedback, because of the wines are so typical.
So we're going to come to the backing our growers offer, which I'm delighted to say that the Despagne family are participating in. We'll come to the kind of COVID, the challenges that you faced in a moment, but maybe just talk a little bit about the two wines that are in our special discounted offer are the white and the red. So the white is 2019 vintage, and if you buy a case of 12, we're knocking a couple of pounds a bottle off the price. So I think it ends up being just under £9. But maybe talk us through the wine, Basaline.
So Bel-Air Perponcher, the white from Bel-Air Perponcher is the white that we like very much to make, because we like the freshness of this wine. We like the easy. It's on one side an easy wine to drink and very pleasant to drink at any time, with food or without food. But we like the complexity and the complementary of the grape variety that we blend.
So this is a blend of predominantly Sauvignon, but with some
Yes.
quite a bit of Semillon. Is it about a quarter Semillon? Basaline, more or less, or
Well, yeah. Depends on the year. So it's between it's 20 to 25 to 30% of Semillon. We like to blend the Sauvignon with the Semillon because it gives a great roundness and a great body to the wine, and it fills out your mouth and it gives the long taste.
And do you, am I right in thinking you sometimes put a splash of muscadel in as well to kind of add a little bit of extra dimension to it? Or you certainly used to in the past, didn't you?
We used to, but we've lost it on this blend because we like the straightness of the Sauvignon, and we used to put maybe only 5% or so, but we like the blend. We think the blend is straighter that way.
And it's great. What's great about this wine is that I think the whites of Bordeaux do have a certain uniqueness so that you don't taste anywhere else, and that's really due to the combination of Sauvignon and Semillon, which really works incredibly well in the Entre-Deux-Mers, particularly when it's handled properly, which of course Bel-Air Perponcher does. And you know, this is one of our most popular Bordeaux whites, and for very good reason. And it complements all the lovely food that you cook when I have the fortune to visit you, which unfortunately I can't do at the moment.
We're very sorry about that, Tim. You know, we love when you come to see us because we're always very transparent on the information we give you, and you are too. We love to have your vision and your opinion on all your wines. You guide us a little bit too, and we miss you. And Harris hasn't been the same this year.
I know, sadly. Now let's just talk about the rosé, which we're not offering at the moment. I mean, it's available at the Wine Society, but we're not doing a special offer on it. But I think there's a photograph somewhere later on of a glass of rosé, which I tasted last year when I visited you at harvest time. There you go. So that glass on the left is my glass, and that's Thibaut behind the glass. And it was when I visited at harvest time last year, and this was my first taste of the 19 vintage, which was the 19 rosé, which had just been vinified, and it's delicious. So we're offering the 19 vintage at the moment. It's £9.95, and I would urge anyone who likes rosé to give it a try, because it's a proper gastronomic rosé. Again, very nice as an aperitif. Maybe remind me what the grape varieties are at Basaline, because I think you changed the blend a couple of years ago, didn't you?
It's now straight Cabernet Sauvignon. Sorry, it's straight Cabernet Sauvignon. We like the freshness given by the Cabernet. You know, keep a wine very light, only in taste but also in color. And we're so pleased to be able to have. We have you know, all the facilities for the whites are perfect to make our rosé.
And that's a growing part of your portfolio or your range in terms of your sales. It's increasing, is it not?
Not so much, but it has always been a huge. It has always been quite important because we produce 15–20% of rosé every year. It's not. But has been like that for many years. So we have a good experience on the wine. I think we can say that our style has a bit changed. I'd say 4 or 5 years ago, when we decided to slowly drop the Merlot, because we didn't like the roundness, and we were not aged to the style we wanted. And I think now we have a great style, and it's such a very appealing color, and it's also easy to match, you know, and in summertime you can.
It's our best-selling Bordeaux rosé, Basaline, and that's partly because it's the only Bordeaux rosé that we do. But I know it's very popular amongst the membership, and the sales are very strong for the wine. Okay, let's move on to the last of the wines before we talk about other things. But the last wine is the red, which is from the 18 vintage. I can see that you've got screw cap on yours, Basaline. Mine's got, you obviously ran out of screw cap for the last order.
I thought it would be easier just for the tasting in front of the camera to get so it is available on screw cap.
Well, I'd be interested to know if members would be happy. I mean, we tend to do the reds with cork just because it's more traditional, but if members would be happy with screw cap, not just on the white and rosé, but on reds, we'd be very happy to switch to, it looks very smart, I have to say. We'd be very happy to switch to screw cap. So answers on a postcard. So tell us about the red then, Basaline. 18.
So we have to remind the members that we are our vineyards are located on the right bank of Bordeaux, and mostly the terroirs are with a lot of clay and the underground with a lot of chalk, and this is quite appealing to Merlot, mostly Merlot. So our blends on the red are mostly, depends on the years, but between 70 to 80% Merlot.
Yeah.
We blend with a bit of Cabernet Franc. So you'll have a wine which has a lot of roundness because Merlot is very soft and smooth sorry. And the Cabernet Franc will bring a little bit of straightness. Is that how would you say, Tim?
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I should answer the sorry.
You don't have to answer if you don't want to, Basaline.
It's okay. Yeah. Was a great vintage. 19 and 20 will be pretty much in the same atmosphere, but these vintages have quite a lot of sun, and you can feel it in the wine for sure.
We've got a picture of the pickers lunch that I attended last year. Basically every year at harvest time, and obviously it couldn't really happen this year because of social distancing. If you move on to the next picture, please. Yeah, okay, this is the picture. So Basaline sets up a kind of tent. If we could just go back to the previous one. Basaline and the team set up a tent outside the chateau. And can we go back one maybe? Is that possible? Oh, we've lost it for good. Anyway, there was a picture which I'm hoping, yeah, there we go. That's the one. So you set up some trestle tables, and basically all the pickers come and they sit and have lunch kind of en famille. So it's very nice and very convivial. But if you look at the picture on the left, the two people in the picture on the left are key to the success of the wines at the moment. So on the left, you've got Joël, who is the kind of technical guy for the Despagne properties, all the Despagne properties. He's a brilliant technician, and he oversees, he's a kind of a trained enologist. I think he started in the late 80s, is that right, Basaline?
85, I think.
All right,
85, 87. 87, I think.
okay. And then on the right there, you have got Virginie, who's the winemaker, who's also exceptionally good at her job, judging by the wines that we get year in, year out. And Virginie runs quite a big team in the winery. So she's also instrumental in the success of the wines. And the other pictures are various people, including Basaline, who were involved in harvest in 2019.
Yeah, Virginie is an amazing winemaker. I don't say that Joël is not a great winemaker, no, but Virginie has a huge sensibility on white wine, and she brought some complementary talents and skills in our wine and in the management of the team and in the quality of the wine, for sure.
And how has COVID affected you, Basaline? Obviously, it's made a difference to how you can work in the winery and how you can work in your office. But overall, in terms of your business, it must have been a massive blow.
It has, and it is. Well, you know, when you're a wine grower, lockdown or not lockdown, you know, nature never stops, and you have to listen to nature. And so most of the team felt very aware that we had to take some new way of working to be able to be and go in the vineyards. So all the people in the vineyards have been they never stopped and never changed really their way of working. Mm-hmm. Especially when we had a very complicated spring with some diseases attack and some work that you had to be done on Saturday and Sunday on bank holidays, and the team was very much concerned about distancing but working, because you know, it doesn't stop growing because there's a lockdown. In the office, most of the people went home working. I don't know how you call it.
Working from home.
It was difficult, even though we were talking to each other every day, to keep the connection and you know, make sure your strategy, you know, goes through your messages and things like that. We're very proud that the cellar and the preparing of the order hasn't stopped. We slowed down clearly. We had to face under very strong problems because transportation stopped. Some of our suppliers stopped working. Delays. We had a problem with one of your orders. The delays to get some capsule went from 4 weeks to 8 weeks. So we had to face all this, but everyone, I'm very proud of my team, saying that everyone did all they could to make things work and make sure, you know, we could prepare the orders, and we had to rethink a lot of things, but it was everyone took the contrainte. How would you say contrainte? The
lockdown.
The directions, you know, in a very serious way. And you know, we provided masks from March 16th, from the day of the lockdown, we provided masks to the team who was here. And
in terms of the your markets, I mean, I know some of your markets continued to order fairly regularly, but I know you do quite a lot with restaurants, don't you? And that must have, or you work with customers who do a lot with restaurants, so that must have had a huge effect on your business as well.
Yes, well, not only on the export market, but locally, we work with quite some restaurants on the coast and in Bordeaux, and you know, there was no business for 3 months, and this is very scary, because we realize that some of our customers have been specialized in restaurants, and they are definitely in danger. There are some business that will bankrupt and not won't be able to fight against this huge crisis, because I'm not sure. You know, we're not out of it yet. We're going to have to face for the worst in a few months.
Well, we appreciate all the efforts that were made to get the wine to us, Basaline, because I have to say you phoned me very early on and said that there were delays with bottles and that it was capsules and stuff, and that, you know, we should plan as far in advance as we could. And I have to say you know, there was almost an unbroken supply from yourselves, which is vital for us as well as for yourselves. So thank you for that, and to your team. Before we do a few questions and answers, maybe could you just talk a little bit about the 2020 vintage, just so that members have got a first impression of how it is for reds and whites?
Well, as I said earlier, you know, the spring was a bit tough, because there was quite some disease showing, but we faced that thanks to our team, and thanks to
this mildew, or was this
mildew? Yes, it was quite raining from April and May, and honestly, we were surprised to see that you know, all the vineyards from Girolats are classified organic, and they've been facing very well, even better than the non-organic, and so we're proud of that. After that, we had a very, very dry and hot summer, very hot, and probably with a lack of water, but there was some water at some point, very varied, depending on where you were. You could have 20 millimeters in one point and 50 in another, or 3 in another one. But we can say that 2020 is unique, and we've been following what nature told us to do. We historically started the earliest of our life, because we started harvest on August 20th. Thanks to our team again, because we had to move all their holidays front. But we finished on September 24th, so last Thursday.
So that was the Cabernets, presumably, at the end, was it?
Exactly. And you have to know that we're very much in contact with my father. And September 24th is the birthday of my eldest brother, Gabriel. Huh. And my father told us in 1971, so the day of his birth, on September 24th, it was their first day of harvest. Wow. So it was our last. So there was no, there's no convention, there's no method, and you really have to feel things and be close to the nature to understand when you need to harvest and when you need to pick. And yes, we listened to that, and we didn't follow the same strategy we had last year because it would haven't worked for this year, because the wines were dry, you know. So it was some people waited for the rain, but we were happy not to.
So you and Thibaut and Virginie and Joël are broadly happy with the results, yes?
We are. Yes, we are in all three colors. Yes, volumes are okay on red, not so generous, but we were tending to go a little bit high on alcohol, and so we didn't want to wait longer because it would have been too risky to have too many difficulties to finish the fermentation. The alcohols on the white and the rosé are quite low. Yeah, it's good.
I think Thibaut said that because it was quite hot, you started picking very early in the mornings when the grapes were nice and cool. Is that correct?
We did. So we had 5 weeks of harvest, but half days. So we would start from 5 o'clock to noon, to avoid the picking under very hot days, because we had days up to 35 degrees Celsius. It was quite crazy. So we want to, you know, when you pick a grape at a cool temperature, you will find this freshness in your wine. So, but if you pick it at 35 degrees Celsius, you will find this heat in the wine, and we wanted to avoid that. So we did very short days. Yes. To
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So I think we've covered quite a bit of ground there. We've got about 25 minutes left. Maybe we can answer a few questions. I'm sure there are plenty of questions in the offing.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you. We do have some questions having come through. Just before we do get on to the questions, you will have seen, and apologies if it did throw you off, but we did share a little poll on the screw cap question for you there, Tim. And we had 82% of attendees respond to that. 47 said they'd be very happy with a screw cap. 19 would still prefer cork, and 34 didn't mind. I think they just, as long as they can get into the wine, I think they'd be happy. There is a couple of questions on the red, and just what the, if we could just have a confirmation again of what the grape sort of varieties and the percentages are in the Rouge at the moment. Could you just clarify that again?
On the 2018, we're 80% Merlot and 20% Cabernet Franc.
Cabernet Franc, perfect, thank you. So the first question we've had is actually about the rosé, and it was asking whether the grape variety is put on the label, and whether you feel that would make more people inclined to try it or buy it. This was a question from Neil. He thinks that having it say Cabernet Franc or Cabernet Sauvignon, the market may be a bit more inclined to try it in comparison to other rosés.
It isn't actually written on the label. It's a restriction from our appellation. We're not so much allowed to write grape variety. If we do, we have to specifically write the percentage, and it's good to manage. As you know, some years it can be.
There can be quite a change sometimes.
Well, here we should write that it's 100% Cabernet Sauvignon, because it is. But yeah, that's the restriction we have from Bordeaux, and I think a lot of people don't. I've always been convinced that in the three colors of Bordeaux. We definitely have wines that people would like, but it's quite complicated to understand because people don't know which variety are in our wine, and so you need to be educated for that. And it's pity that it's a restriction for us actually not to be able to say. We could write it on the back label, but it's already to take the bottle and to say, oh, I'll see what's written here and what it is. And
I think we'll just have to shout about it, and everyone will then get on board and buy it and spread it through word of mouth. So I think the next question we've got is from Andrew, and hopefully, Andrew, you're there and able to ask yourself.
Yes, I'd like to ask you about the red vintage 2018, and as the grower of this, how does it differ from other years, and how do you personally rate it compared with other years? As I'm sure you've got an active audience who potentially might buy it tonight, so we'd like to hear how you think it differs from previous vintages.
Well, 2018 is a vintage we're very proud of. It's a vintage with an amazing balance. It's a vintage where we haven't been how do you say, nature was smooth with us. Because as a wine grower, each vintage is a new story and a new challenge, and you learn every year from another vintage. But 18 is like a 16. You have a lot of it's a very well balanced vintage. It's elegant. The tannins are very present, but they're smooth, and there's a good balance with the acidity. So I wouldn't think about it. I would go for this vintage. They're in the same line than 16, 18, 19. Is really, they're in the same line. We've seen in the last 10 years or so temperatures going up for sure. We all talk about global warming, and it has a really good impact on our wines because we really get great maturity on our Cabernet Franc and Cabernet Sauvignon. And I think it really brings a good balance to the blend.
Yeah.
So yeah, 17 for us is a good vintage, but we had a terrible frost, so we lost 40% of our crop. So you don't deal the same way. But 18 was a generous vintage for us and well balanced. I hope I have answered your question, Amy.
I think it's worth saying that you've had it sounds to me from what you said about the 20 vintage that you've now had a run of 3 fantastic vintages, 18, 19 and 20. I mean, 19, I happen to think is a really great vintage because the wines have maintained excellent freshness and the pH levels are low and the acidity levels are high, which means that you get these fantastically fresh wines, even if they're quite rich, and that's a great combination.
They have a good potential to last in time too, because they have good structure.
Excellent. So I think the next question that we've got is from Mary. Mary, if you're able to unmute yourself, or we can unmute for you. That's fine. We'll see if Mary's there. Yeah,
Hi.
Mary, if you'd like to ask.
Yeah, I wanted to ask if you had any problems with finding pickers this year, or are your pickers all local people? I don't know if you've been affected by COVID.
It was very tough, very, very tough, because our pickers mostly come from Spain and Portugal, and it was not only for pickers, it was for all the work from April all the way to now, because sometimes the border was closed between France and Spain. So we were in contact with the border. So are you open today, or are you not open? Can they go through or not? And the vines don't wait. So it was a really stressful situation. But the pickers were here at the right time and good condition in a good group, and they did a fantastic job. So thank you for that. But it was a very unusual year for our workers, for sure, especially the people who come from southern Europe.
Okay, lovely. So I think we've got Craig up next. Craig, are you there? I think we'll just unmute Craig now. Or if not, I'll ask on Craig's behalf there, I think. So I think it was just an expansion really on what you were talking about with the climate change and the effect that that's having. And is that having an effect that you're seeing where it's really being quite detrimental, or in terms of, obviously with Cabernet Sauvignon being a thicker skinned grape, is it actually quite beneficial to you having that slightly warmer temperatures? Of course, it's not just about the heating up. There's obviously, you've mentioned the frost and the other effects going on, but
well, the style of wine are changing. You know, my father was picking wines at 11 potential degrees in alcohol because they couldn't
ripen.
They couldn't ripen, exactly. So we see we see the good side of the global warming because Cabernet Franc, Malbec, Verdot will be great vintage, grape variety to put in our wines. We'll have to pick earlier. We have to get used to start earlier than just you know, starting September 15th. It's over. We have to get used to have a quicker cycle. But I see it in a positive way.
The good news is in Bordeaux, of course, that you blend different varieties. So whilst Merlot ripens very readily and can be overripe in very, very hot conditions, you have the Cabernet Sauvignon and the Cabernet Franc, which ripen later and require more heat and sun, don't they? So at least you're able to counterbalance some of the effects of climate change by just blending in more of the Cabernet Franc, presumably. Is that right? Exactly,
and it gives us the possibility to organize our harvest maybe on a longer period, but it gives us the possibility to organize ourselves better, I think, also.
Excellent. So the next question is from Nigel, and he's asked for it to be asked on his behalf, and he has said that he's heard there is a trend away from white Entre-Deux-Mers as the demand is reducing and more red is being produced. Are you finding that the demand for the white wine is lessening and that you are producing more red, or that the demand for red is increasing? Is that something you found?
We've been producing always a lot of white and a lot of rosé because it's in our culture, and all the members of my family, we really like to enjoy a glass of white wine, and because it's so easy to match with food, and they always have an occasion. But we do see our our production, the structure of our production moving to more red. But I think I don't know if if we follow. We're not really following a trend. I think there's we're not going to stop making white wine because we like it so much, and we're so much attached to the Entre-Deux-Mers and to these wines and to the typicity of terroir. So I wouldn't. It's a question of balance. I'm not sure. I'm not sure I answer well this question.
I mean, I think
there's also an opportunity of how we understand our terroir. My father had a huge success with white wine, and he planted white vines everywhere he could. And we realized that some terroirs are not meant to grow those white vines. So we're pulling them out, knowing that the terroir could hold some very good red grapes. So it's also an understanding of what we have and what nature can present on the lands we have. It's a more of a question of understanding our environment and planting the right grapes on the right terroir.
Absolutely. So I think the next question that we have is from Peter Cousins. I think Peter, you're ready to ask there.
Yes. Thank you very much for an interesting presentation. I've enjoyed Chateau Montpellier in the past quite a lot, and I wondered if you could say a little bit about that wine. And a question briefly for Tim as he disappears now. Oh no, he's back. Will the Wine Society be restocking it? So it's about Chateau Montpellier.
I didn't hear what you said. Sorry.
Could you repeat your question, Peter?
I've enjoyed your Chateau Montpellier, which is another one of your chateau in the past. I wondered if you could say a little bit about that wine, describe that wine, and I was asking Tim whether he would be restocking it.
Yes. No, but Tim is very faithful on Montpellier. He's buying Montpellier every year, white and red. So Montpellier is an estate we bought in 1998 on the Côte de Bordeaux. It's an estate with a very deep slope. We made 80 carottage. I don't know the English name, but
they're boreholes
to understand the structure of the soil, and understanding that we replanted the whole estate. And so we released the first vintage in 1998 in red, and in 2005 for the white. It's a wine with a lot of complexity, really making this wine with the philosophy of making wine that can last in time. There are wines with a real life, because you will catch a lot of fruit when they're young, and then they will have an evolution, and then they will change, and it's great to see the evolution of a wine when a wine is a year old, 2 years old, 5 years old, 10 years old. But these wines are meant to be very gastronomic, and we say gastronomic because for me it's wine that should be linked to food, not not like a glass of Bel-Air Perponcher that you can just drink by itself. It's an estate which has a great success in Asia. I don't know if you've ever heard of the manga, The Drop of God. And there's an amazing story about Mura, because the Drop of God is the story of a guy who his father dies and he leaves his fortune is his wine collection. And this guy is not very interested into wine, he's in beer. And so he said, oh, I don't care. But his father, reading the testament, say, listen, I have adopted the best sommelier of Japan. And I've decided to put you in competition. And he said, no, I'm not interested. And he's taken by a young girl, a young sommelier. And he said, no, but you have to fight for your heritage. You have to fight for this bottle of wine. You don't know what's happening. You can't just leave that. And the first bottle he tries is the Château Montpellier 2001, and it's a Queen concert for him. He's wow, I want wow, wine is amazing. And from that moment, the hero wants to taste all the wine. And from that moment, you know, with our sales in Asia went crazy because of this. It's pure hasard, because we didn't know the writers, we didn't know anyone, but the writers, it's a brother and a sister, and they liked to buy their wine at the wine shop just down the street, and they discovered Montpellier, and they said, yeah, that's a real discovery. And that's the introduction in the first book of the Drop of God. And so it's a manga wine.
So to answer the second part of the question, I do buy both red and white pretty much every year, as Basaline said. We don't necessarily offer the wines en primeur every year, but what we do sometimes is we sit on the wines and then we offer them when they're ready to drink. So we may not have Montpellier red and or white on sale all the time, but there are wines in the warehouse maturing, which we will be offering in future.
Lovely. So the next question we've had from a couple of people is whether you use any oak in the aging or any sort of oak aging of the wines, and if so, how long for? Now, having visited, I don't really remember seeing much oak. It seems a lot of stainless steel, but do you use any oak for your wines?
Yes, we do, but it depends on the color and the wine. So in the range of Château Bel-Air Perponcher, there's no oak in the rosé, there's no oak in the white, because we really want to have straight fruit. There's a little bit in the red, but very slightly, only 20% of the lot are aged in barrel, and I'd say 6 months, more or less. If we talk about Montpellier, we have a different strategy, but you have to understand that we don't use oak to oak the wine. We use the aging in oak barrels to give some structure to the wine, but we don't like the oak taste. So for the white, for the Montpellier white, for example, we only have half of the lot, half of the wine, which is aged in barrels. We use the most complex and dense and concentrated lots to be in aging barrels. And what we do is we put the Semillon in the New Year barrels. And then the best lot of Sauvignon is a 1 year and 2 years old barrels. And so what happened is that we have a blend of different aged barrels. So we have 50% in standstill vat, 50% in barrels, but we'll have 25% new old, 25% 1 year old, 25% 3 years old, 25% 4 years old. To really have a good integration of the wood and not to have a predominance of the wood. For the red, we use a little bit more. The red is all the in Montpellier Rouge, all the wine goes in barrels, but same, it's new, it's a blend of new, 1 year old, 2 years old. Integration. And we put the most, the stronger lots in the new barrels, and the most delicate lots in a 1 or 2 years old.
Perfect. Now, I know Tim mentioned at the start, and a few people in the comments, including myself, have commented on the fact that they've been lucky enough to enjoy your cooking. Now, obviously, food and wine is such a big part of what we do with tastings and events, and with what you do yourself. So, of the red, the rosé, and the white, what would be your ideal dish to cook for each of the wines? I think we've got a picture of some of the food that you've prepared before, just to give people an idea of what we're talking when we're saying that you're an excellent cook there.
I have taken out some food for you tonight also, but I don't know if you see it because I only see the pictures. Voilà. So here we have some homemade pâté from wild pigs that comes in our field. This would match very well with the red. Here you have some very good local goat cheese. This is a perfect match with the white. And I would say some dried tomatoes with the rosé. But I'm sorry, yeah. More generally, the white is a great match with a lot of food. So some fish, some chicken, some I like that. To some smoked salmon too. I like to add some smokiness to the crispiness of the wine. In terms of cheese, it's easy also to match because the cheese have a lot of fat, and the acidity of the white wine will make a good balance. A lot of people in our culture, in our French culture, a lot of people say, "Oh, cheese equals red." And for me, in many meals that we do with our customer and things like that, we actually serve white wine on cheese because it makes a good balance, and it brings it your mouth too. For the red, you know, we're entering in a great season of mushrooms, and I think it's a good match with red wine. In terms of meat, we're also entering in a season where it will be, making stew with long cooking of meat, of veal or beef, or with a little bit of carrots and coriander and things like that. That's a good match with our red. That's a good match.
Perfect. I don't know about anyone else, but I'm very much looking forward to my dinner now. It won't be as good, but it will fill the satiated hole there. I mean, Tim, would you like to add any comments? Perhaps a favourite thing you've eaten that Basaline has prepared for you?
I think the very first time I visited Basaline, just after I joined the Wine Society in 2012, Basaline cooked the most amazing dinner actually at the chateau. Can you remind me what it was, Basaline?
Ah, yes, yeah, avec le risotto. Yeah, I know. I remember that meal. It was chevreau. I cooked some chevreau. Chevreau, it's a baby goat. So it's a tiny piece, and there's nothing to eat. But I cook it for long, a very slow, low temperature for very long. And you were a great guest for that night, Tim. And we had picked, because it was in April, we had picked some mousserons, which are very special mushrooms. And the season of these mushrooms are around April 20th, more or less. There's we talk about the mousseron for la Saint-Georges. Saint-Georges is on April 23rd, and we have a couple of spots where we find the mousseron, and had made a nice risotto. See, I remember now. I know every time we have. You have to imagine that our table is very wide open to all the people who come here. Sometimes we had the luck to have not only Tim, but the rest of the team from the Wine Society, but we have people from all over the world coming on our table, and it's always a great pleasure to share those private moments with these people and put some nice meals with a good match with our wines. I note everything, every menu, to make sure that I won't do the same thing the next time you come.
Well, you can cook chevreau again if you like, Basaline. I won't be disappointed.
Okay, if it's a request, I will.
And so in terms of, I think you'll have a lot of people now being very interested in being able to come and sit at your table. But in terms of visiting, are you looking forward to being able to have people back? And do you think that will be anytime soon, or is it just a wait and see at the moment?
We see things very different with a lot of difficulty. So we're putting a project to come to people with Thibaut to say, okay, why don't we come to you and I cook and Thibaut presents the wine and we have a good match, you know. So we're not seeing a lot of people. We'll probably see European people, but we'll see no one from Asia, no one from the States. No, for sure not. That's difficult. So we're thinking of moving to people.
Excellent.
Sure.
Well,
I'll be pleased to make a dinner for your members. You know, showing the wine.
Yeah.
Do something differently. You know.
Absolutely, that's something that we'll definitely keep in mind. It sounds excellent. But I think this has been, we're just a little over an hour, but this has been an absolutely wonderful hour to spend with you, Basaline. And thank you and Tim for sharing all your insights to the wines and answering the questions here. It's been lovely to have you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Basaline. Thank you, the tastings team, and of course, thanks to all the members who joined us. It's been fun. Cheers.
Thank you. Have a great evening, and thank you, Tim. Thank you, Catherine, for organizing everything.
You're welcome. Thank you. Take care.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Enjoy the Château Bel-Air. Huh? Good night. I'll have my pâté now.